Hey, what's going on, guys? Got another gold guide video for you. Today it's the .50 GS, or the Desert Eagle. Like the X16, it's pretty straightforward to get gold for this. It's a little bit harder, I'd say. The fire cap is a little bit slower, I think. It's got more kick, so it's got a little bit more recoil than the Glock. For the builds are a little weird. As you can see, this thing's got a hollow sight on it, but they're pretty similar to the X16. But there is some things that are different. So I'm going to hop over into the gunsmith and I'll show you guys the 3 different builds. Alright guys, so right here is the kills build. It's a little bit different than the build we had for the X16. The biggest difference is I'm using a sight. I have the hollow sight on here, which is good because it's the third sight you unlock. The good thing about the hollow sight is it does zoom in more than I think something like the Mini GI reflex sight. So with the deal, it kicks more than the X16. So the X16, when you're going for headshots, you could kind of just have it in the vicinity of someone's head and just spam fire, and you'll get a headshot more often. Or with the Deagle, it's got a slower fire rate, and it kicks more, so it's a lot harder to stay on target. So it's easier. Well, for me, I found it easier to just line up, kind of use it like a sniper pistol. You line up one shot, and you hopefully get a headshot, which the hollow sight will help with the zoom. And then the next attachment is the 5 milliwatt laser. Same benefits as what it had for the Glock. It helps hipfire, and when you're running around, which for pistols, that's always how I was playing in hardcore, was just running around. And then I always build the pistols to have faster draw speed. That way you're always beating out ARs and submachine guns to shooting, and that allows you to win a lot of the fights. So that's the 5 milliwatt laser helps you out big with that. Then, trigger action, lightweight trigger. First trigger you get, all it does is help your fire rate, aiming stability. I mean, it is a negative, but the fire rate is way more beneficial than this little bit of aiming stability that you lose. Actually, it's a good bit, but the fire rate increase is good. So, ammo. I'm not sure when you get the 10 round mag, but just as you start unlocking it, just go from 10 round. Then once you get 13 rounds, go to 13 rounds. And then for rear grip, I'm using, again, the stippled grip tape, which is, I believe, the same exact attachment that I used for the Glock, or the X16. Just because, like I said, I build my pistols to have faster ADS speed and faster draw speed. Just because that'll allow you to win your fights. I don't know, like a lot. You win a ton of fights just based off of your draw speed. But yeah, make sure you have 5 attachments for this build that allow you to get, I think, the Tiger camo once you unlock that. Alright, so hopping into the Hipfire build, the build is a little bit different than the kills build, whereas the X16 or the Glock were pretty similar between the kills build and the Hipfire build. But for this, you're still using the 5 milliwatt lasers. You still want to be able to shoot faster after running. Although you're not going to be aiming down sights, you still want to be able to shoot faster. You get your hipfire increase. Again, same thing I said last time in the X16 video. If you guys are being pre-fired around a corner, and you're dying to that a lot, the negative to this laser is it's visible to enemies. So they can see your green laser, basically. So if you do die to pre-fires around corners, just swap it over to the 1 milliwatt. As you can see, it's got no cons. It's just not as good for hipfire, but they won't be able to see your laser. No optic, because you're not ADSing. Barrel, it just adds, I think, yeah, it ruins your ADS speed, which, I mean, actually doesn't matter, but also your movement speed, which for me, when you're running, how I play is I run around, and that's kind of what I built the pistol for, so I didn't want to put on a barrel. I put on a suppressor. This was actually something that I messed around a lot with, because you don't need to always have 5 attachments on. Actually, adding attachments will almost always give you a downside, but it's also going to give you an upside to things. But I ended up having a suppressor once I unlocked it. As you can see, it's the last unlock, so it takes a little bit to get it. And the Deagle does have more levels than the X16. But when you're hip firing somebody, you're going to miss a couple shots. It's not like perfectly accurate. So having a suppressor in hardcore, it'll allow you to hide for a little bit longer, and which will allow you to get a couple more shots off, and hopefully one of those shots will hit the guy and you'll kill him before he figures out where you are and kills you. Because in hardcore you don't really have much of a chance if you're missing your shots. So tactical suppressor helped me out with that a little bit. Trigger action, same thing. You want the fire cap increase just to be able to rattle off as many shots as you can. Ammo, same exact thing. Go from default mags to 10 to 13. Rear grip. Rear grip basically just helps with ADS speed, which is why I'm not using it, because you're not going to be ADSing. Same thing with recoil. You don't need to worry about recoil because you're hip firing. And then sleight of hand, since you're not using any of these other optics or any of these other attachments, because they're not really going to benefit you. Sleight of hand will definitely benefit you, more so than these other three would. Plus, it's going to help you with knocking out the, I don't know the exact camo, but the reload challenge. Speaking of that, we can hop into the reload build right here. Again, a little bit different. Biggest difference is the laser. Now, let's see. The reason why I go with the tack laser for the reload build instead of the 5 milliwatt is because how I do my reload kills is I'm using the sound a lot. So I'll walk around listening for somebody to be close, and I've already got a shot fired off, so I'm ready to reload. Once I hear somebody close, I'm already already hip firing. I'm not sprinting. Once I hear somebody close, I'll reload, and sometimes I'll already be ADS, sometimes I won't be. So if I'm not already ADS'd, it's good to have these benefits for ADS speed compared to sprint to fire speed, since I'm not going to be running around as much. That's why I use a tack laser, because it helps out with ADS speed compared to sprint to fire speed. Optic. For me, the why I don't use an optic for this build is because of the ADS speed. As you can see, I think every optic reduces ADS speed, which is something that I want to have compared to a sight, because I don't need to get headshots or anything. I just need to be able to hit the guy. Like I said, in hardcore, it's usually a one hit. So as long as you as long as you don't completely whiff, you should be all right. Barrel, really, you don't need a barrel. I think, what is it? Yeah, again, ADS speed is the con, which is why I'm not using the barrel. Muzzle, you could. As you can see, this build I'm only using 4 out of 5 attachments. If you are having trouble killing somebody right after you're because with reload challenge, it's the hard thing about it. You only have about 1 shot. I think you might be able to get 2 shots off with the deagle before you can't even get the challenge completed. Well, like, what I mean by that is, if you see someone, you reload, you only have a grace period to shoot once or possibly twice. So having a suppressor on really isn't going to help you when you need to conceal yourself, because you have to either kill the guy on that first shot or the second shot. If you have to shoot it a third time, that kill won't count towards the camo challenge. So the suppressors, you can see the cons, again, the ADS speed, which I want to keep. But if you think it's going to benefit you, again, just mix and match, whatever works for you. You could add a suppressor, you could add a sight, whatever. Trigger action, always. Pistols, I always use it, because PC, on PC, or controller, or with a controller, you're usually used to being able to pull the trigger fast in, like, shooters. But in this game, there's a pretty slow fire cap, so the trigger action helps out with that. Ammo, you don't need extended mags, because you're going to be reloading constantly. The stippled grip tape, again, for the aim down sight speed, and sprint to fire speed also helps for when you're running around. But I wouldn't recommend running around too much when you have to go for your reload kills. Then again, of course, the most important perk for the reload build, sleight of hand. You want to be able to minimize that time from seeing the guy to shooting the guy, and sleight of hand is a big portion of that. So yeah, that's it for the deagle. Like the X16, it's very similar playstyle, getting pistol camos. There's not much different. The biggest difference between the pistols is this thing shoots a little bit slower. It's got a little bit more kick, so you have to be a little bit careful. But overall, it's pretty straightforward. Shouldn't take too long. The camo challenges are reduced from ARs. But that's gonna be it for this guide, guys. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, if you want any more tips on how I got my pistols completed, just ask in the comments below. I should be able to get back to them. But yeah, that's it for this one, guys. I'll see you in the next video.